What could the random murder of a 6-year-old child snatched from her bed in her own home possibly have to do with national security? A May 2016 article written by Timothy Charles Holmseth asked this question, which I believe cracks open the entire case, which has had the American public fascinated, horrified, and perplexed since the 1990s. Holmseth makes the connection to Kathy O'Brien, who claims to have information on the Jonbenet Ramsey case. Kathy's claims seem to be a skeleton key that opened many doors for me in researching this particular matter. Kathy O'Brien is a recovered and vocal survivor of the CIA's MKUltra Project Monarch mind control operation. Born in Michigan in 1957, Kathy was born into a family of generational pedophilia. She was sexually abused by her father from infancy. Kathy's father, Earl O'Brien, had a 6th grade education and earned his money as a worm digger. He supplemented his meager income through sales of pornography, images of Kathy and her siblings being abused. He was selling these images through the U.S. mail until one day he was caught by the U.S. government. Lucky for Earl, though, a local politician approached him with a proposition.
There's one particular politician that was involved, and that was just a local politician at that time. And he approached my father and told him he could receive immunity from prosecution if he would agree to sell me into MKUltra mind control. Because any child who had been and used in child so horrifically prior to age 5 would be suffering from the dissociative identity disorder that made me a target for mind control.
Trauma-based mind control programs such as MKUltra and Project Monarch were revealed to the public via declassified documents in the 70s and again in the 90s, with several victims giving testimony before Congress. The basis of these programs is the routine infliction of severe trauma upon a child in order to force their mind into a dissociative state, allowing them to be controlled without awareness. Up until the age of 7, children live mostly in a hypnotic state of mind, when their sense of reality is being written, which explains why they target children, specifically those that come from abusive households. Bryce Taylor and Kathy O'Brien have each described in their books how they were regularly brought to Disneyland and Disney World, where they would be tortured and raped while being programmed with Disney stories, as well as Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. This has been verified in CIA documents. O'Brien says she was tortured in a room beneath Disney World, which we know was designed by agents of the CIA, who were running this program at that time. Victims of these programs were sold into them by their abusive parents, a model we see today with parents pimping their children out to the entertainment industry.
Even today, we have reason to believe that MKUltra lives on in an even more heinous form as the Monarch Project. And the difference between the Monarch Project and the MKUltra Project is that it fuses child abuse with Satanism. And what happens is that under the auspices of the government, children are not only tortured and drugged and electrocuted and having all sorts of horrible things done to them, but they are also hypnotized and have scientifically inserted demons placed within their altered parts, as they are called in what used to be called multiple personality disorder. It's now called dissociative identity disorder. And by doing that, they create various kinds of slaves, super spies, super sex slaves, super soldiers. And this is a very dismaying part of what the government is doing, but this is one of the many black projects that it is unknown to most, probably 99% of the American people.
As soon as my father sold me into the project, he was flown to Boston, Massachusetts, where the Catholic faction, the Jesuit faction of Project Monarch, was being run by cardinal law. My father was trained by cardinal law on how to raise me in the project. This included human trafficking. It wasn't called human trafficking back then. It was just being prostituted out to all the local politicians, the policemen, all the pedophile priests that were involved in my area, and those who were part of my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge. The Blue Masonic Lodge is where all the politicians came together and were actively part of making the plans for MK Ultra mind control.
O'Brien observes the evidence of the Jonbenet Ramsey murder as the result of a torture session involving controlled asphyxiation, electric shock, and sexual assault during a mind control programming session. Whether little Jonbenet was killed by asphyxiation or that blow to the head sort of depends who you ask. Dr. Cyril Wecht is a renowned forensic pathologist, and he points to the fact that Jonbenet's head injury only produced 7 cc, or about a teaspoon and a half of blood. As such, he believes that that injury was inflicted after Jonbenet was already deceased as a result of ligature strangulation from that cord around the neck. He believes the perpetrator inflicted this injury to cover up the actual cause of death, which is asphyxiation.
What do you think? If any one of us got cracked on the head like that, do you think there might be more than a teaspoon and a half of blood? She was already dead. That blow was inflicted to make it appear that she had been assaulted by this brutal killer. She was already dead from the rope around the neck that produced cardiac arrest.
Both examining physicians also agreed that there were signs of sexual abuse, both from the night of her death and prior chronic sexual abuse. It is not in dispute that the child, both on the night of her death and leading up to it, was being sexually abused. That's an important factor.
Then there's the stun gun question. Sources say injuries on the little girl may have come from a stun gun.
Unless some other evidence is presented to me, the most likely explanation for those injuries is that they were caused by a stun gun.
The Ramseys deny owning one, but New York